All right, this is our next lesson from Go Math 2.4. It's from pages 49 all the way to 54. So in your packet, it's going to say 2.4. And if you do by chance have your Go Math book, looks like this right here. So there's a lot of extra stuff in this lesson, but pretty much the whole gist of this is to relate a fraction into the decimal. And that's really easy to do as long as you know this one thing. Once again, like our last video, you have to realize that there's two places behind our decimal in fourth grade. And our second place is the hundredths place. And since we're talking about hundredths, we're going to go to the second place. Now I'm going to go ahead and throw in tenths while we're here also. So I'm going to modify this a little bit. And I'm going to also do some tenths as fractions as well. Okay, so if we have a number like 2.45, okay? First thing is we don't want to say 2.45. Even though I say that in class a lot of the time, it's okay. But to read this correctly, we actually have to name what this is. So 2.45 doesn't really tell me anything, all right? So if we're going to read this correctly, we need to relate that to the names of our actual fractions. So if we read this correctly, it's going to be 2, and we did talk about that the decimal point is the word and. That is really important. So I'm not going to read this as 2.45. This is going to be read as 2 and 45 because that is the number 45. So 2 and 45 hundredths. Okay, since there are two places behind that decimal, this is 2 and 45 hundredths. Now, one thing that is confusing is how is this 45 hundredths when the number 45 doesn't actually fit here? Well, the reason that is because in each one of these tenths, and you have to think about that as money amounts. Sometimes that might be a little more easy to understand. So let me show you what this actually means as far as money goes. If I did this as a money amount, 45 means 4 tenths, so 4 for 40, and pennies, there's 5 in the hundredths, meaning 5 1/100ths of a dollar. So if you look at this right here, physically you can see that I have tenths of a dollar and I have hundredths of a dollar, and if I put these together, it literally does make 45 cents. So I have a 4 in the tenths place and a 5 in the hundredths place. But once again, technically that is 45 in the hundredths place because these 4 tens do make 40 pennies. So if you combine them together, 45 pennies would be the same as 4 dimes and 5 pennies. It's just easier to do this. Nobody really wants 45 pennies for change, okay? So how do we put that in a fraction? Well, my motto is if you can say it, you can write it. Okay, that's one thing I've said in class a whole lot. If you can say it, you can write it. You can write the words that you're actually saying. And we've already said the answer to this, 2 and 45 hundredths. So watch, 2 and 45 hundredths. Done. That's my answer right there. Now, if I had a number like 16.4, okay, 16.4 is an acceptable way of saying that, but it doesn't tell me the name of the fraction. So 16.4, we have to read this, and we're going to put this in fractional form. So once again, this is 16 and 4. Now look where this 4 is. This 4, this time, it's just a 4 in the tenths place. I don't have anything in the hundredths place. So since I don't have anything in the hundredths place, I don't need 100 on the bottom of my fraction. So this would be read as 16 and 4 tenths. So 16 and 4 tenths. So these are the same. All right, let's do a few more of those. And we'll put 3.06, 4.12, 17.99, and 100.01. And we're going to find the fraction form of these. Now you have to keep in mind here, these are wholes. All right, since these are wholes, if they ever show you a picture and they want you to match the picture, and I've got a good example of one right here. If they ever show you a picture, one like this, which is in 2.4, wait, hold on, wrong place, right here. This is in 2.4 right here, and I want you to look at this question. So they're asking you to find the decimal amount that shows this picture right here. Now you have to realize that each one of these is a whole. So this is a one whole, one whole, one whole. So if these are one wholes, I have to look for anything that's got three holes in it. And I do realize that this one right here is not a one whole, so I'm going to have three holes here, and my decimal is going to separate the holes from the thing that is not a hole. In this not a hole right here, I've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. So there's 80 things inside those, 80 single little pieces inside that, supposed to be one whole. So you can already see your answer here, 3.80. Now, if this was like this would also be worth the same amount, because I could also do these as tenth sticks, and let me show you what those would look like. Those would look like this. So like right here, this would be 2 with 9 tenths, or 2 with 9 tenths. So 9 dimes, think about it that way. 9 dimes would be the same thing as 90 pennies. So it's totally okay to also do this, which means you can put a 0 in the back. 2.90 is the same value as 2.9. So going back to the 100ths here, 3.8 and 3.80 are also the same amount. All right, so let's go check out the fraction versions of these. And you have to remember, tenths, hundredths. So since all of these have 2 places behind their decimal, these are all going to go to 100ths. So that's the easy part, is remembering, okay, 2 numbers, 2 zeros for 100, okay? So 3 and 6 hundredths, 3 and 6 hundredths, 4 and 12 hundredths, 4 and 12 hundredths, 17 and 99 hundredths, 100 wholes and 1 hundredth. So here's your fraction equivalent versions of these decimals right here. Let me throw a tenth in just to show you the tenth. Let's do 82.6. So if I have 82.6, that 6 is only one place behind that decimal. So 82 with 6 in the tenths place, so 82 and 6 tenths. All right, now you can also do this, and this is totally acceptable. Since there's only one digit right behind the decimal, you can add a 0 to the right of that to make it 60 hundredths, which would mean a 0 here and a 0 here, and that's also the same. Okay, now what you can never do though is you can never put a 0 in between numbers. So if I have a number like 1.2, I can turn that in to 1.20. That's okay. But what I cannot do is take 1.2 and squeeze a 0 in front of it, because what that ends up doing is turning my $1.20 into $1.02. So that is a big no-no. Never put a 0 in between stuff. You can put a 0 behind it. Okay, so that's totally fine to put a 0 behind it, but don't ever put a 0 in between stuff. Hope that helps.